All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be tuning in from. This is Redemption and Recovery, when suppressed wounds begin to heal. And we have a lovely, lovely guest today, Dr. Danielle Angela. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Danielle.
Well, hi. Thank you so much for having me, Christina. I'm
You're welcome.
excited to be here, excited to be sharing my story and hope that it helps people to hear it. By credentials, I'm a chiropractor. I've been licensed for 16 years, but I've been on a sabbatical from practice for the last 6 years now since I had my youngest child. I started a coaching business in 2015, and I can't believe that was 9 years ago, and have been doing that full time, although I work really part-time hours for the last 9 years. I practice hypnotherapy and neurosomatic release. I have helped, hundreds of women who own businesses and also have children to be able to figure out how to balance running a business and raising a family and really be able to make sure that they're profitable in their business, they're earning their worth. And I've also been married twice, divorced twice. And only after my second divorce did I realize, I suppose you could say, it was like an awakening. I realized I had been married to two alcoholics, not one, but two, and didn't even realize that my first husband was an alcoholic until after my second divorce. So that's a bit about me. Oh, I have three children. I can't forget to include them. They're 13, 10, and 6.
Okay. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm like, oh, that's a lot, but it's all great stuff because I'm pretty sure that you're able to connect with a lot of different people, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the because you mentioned hypnotherapy. So what is that like?
Um, it's awesome. I
Okay.
utilize therapy now with my clients to really help them break through things that are holding them back that they're sometimes not even aware of. They're often not aware of. For many years as a coach, I helped people by talking with them, asking questions. I feel like at the essence, coaching is asking people questions. It's very similar to counseling in that way. And I was really good at helping people with strategies and tactics and helping them go from like here to here, but then they would get here and they'd kind of sometimes backslide a little and they'd come back up here and they'd backslide a little and come back up here. And it was like they could never break through this plateau. So I started asking myself, and frankly, I was getting kind of frustrated and bored with what I was doing in my work. What do I need to do differently? So I studied hypnotherapy and neurosomatic release to be able to help people change their subconscious patterns, thoughts, behaviors, so that they get different results in their lives and their businesses. And I've been doing that now for 2 years, and the results have been amazing. Can I give you an example? Yeah. Okay. So I
Yes,
had
please.
I have one client that she and I have worked together off and on since 2018, maybe 19, 5 or 6 years. And throughout all of that time, our conversations were around how can she get reimbursed better from medical insurance for her services? How can she get a better handle on her schedule? And we would talk about these things for literally years. And she would make some progress, just like I demonstrated. Like she would make some progress and then she would kind of backslide, or she would say, like, fall off the bandwagon. And this year, I finally said, you know what? Let's do something different. I've been doing these other techniques with other people. It just kind of occurred to me to like offer this to you. Let's see where it goes. And now what she's seeing happen is that she's taking home more money from her business, and her bank account for her business is actually growing instead of dwindling. And money has been a big issue for her in her business for a long time, where she felt like almost ready to give it up. despite how long she had gone to school to be able to do what she does, it just wasn't making financial sense. But now through subconscious work, we're seeing changes that don't necessarily make sense, but they're happening and it's real. It's really cool.
I love that. I love that. Because I know with with my background as far as being a, believer of the faith, sometimes that can be something that I would probably like, oh, I may shy away from that. But then
Yeah.
when we look at scripture, Romans chapter 12, 1 and 2, that says that we are renewed. I mean, but to renew our minds daily, you know,
Mhm.
everything is the mind. We have mind, body, soul, and spirit. So can you speak to someone who may be struggling with like, oh, I don't know about that hypnotherapy?
Absolutely. Yes, because I've experienced similar doubts about like, healing modalities of all kinds myself, ask myself very similar questions. And my perspective won't resonate with everyone, but at the root, I guess for me, I've just concluded that I have to trust what I feel I'm being called to or led to. Um, and also have developed discernment to allow me to be able to distinguish the difference between like what's a shiny object, what's like, a cool trendy thing that everybody is doing. I typically want to go the other direction from those things. And where is my soul really being called to go? So that's a part of it for me. Also, I would add to that, well, yes, there's stigma around healing modalities like hypnotherapy or even acupuncture, sometimes Reiki. We are energetic beings. We are made of energy. We are made of more than just, I'm leaning on a table as we're speaking. Like we're more than just this inanimate object. And what is it that animates us? It's the power that God put in our bodies. And sometimes that energy gets distorted for a variety of reasons. And I believe that we can help each other. God gave us the skills to be able to help each other with those distortions. Um, I had a conversation with a friend. This was probably about 3 years ago now, where I said something and I was like, oh, "Am I gonna get in trouble for saying that?" I said to her, and I was just kind of like realizing it in the moment as it was coming out of my mouth. I said, Jesus was a spontaneous healer. And if Jesus could spontaneously heal people, then humans have the capacity to spontaneously heal. And even when I say it now, my whole body, I get like goosebumps and chills. I'm like, whoa, that I don't know that I'm supposed to say that. But my
Right.
willingness to put it out there is just to remind people that even when we feel like we're facing something that feels impossible, yes, we turn to God, and also we were made with the ability to do amazing things, to do things that don't make sense, to do things that can't be explained. We have that capacity within us.
Yeah, we do. Thank you for explaining that because it's, like you said, the healing modalities. And one of the things that I was taught by another chiropractor, because you say you're a chiropractor, what she told me was very, very valuable. And it's focusing on the present time, which is practicing present time consciousness, which can also go into that subconscious and you're trying to work through that and work through like maybe traumatic things that have happened in the past and things as such. So you mentioned that you had two husbands. Both husbands were alcoholic.
Yes.
So I can only imagine, were there things that you went through that you would like to talk about in those marriages? Or
Oh, yes. So
okay.
much.
that can help someone else that may be going through something similar or maybe straddling the fence about, should I stay? Should I go?
Yes.
Why am I dealing with this?
That's a very common question that I hear from people is, how do I know when it's time to end this relationship? And especially in biblically focused people, we don't take that decision lightly. And now I will share it, during my first marriage and after it, I wasn't a biblically focused person. And I didn't, I was probably what you might call spiritual, but I wasn't really sure like what that meant to me. And so the decision to end that marriage was more so just about circumstances that were going on and dishonesty and lack of trust. It was very, honestly, especially without children, it just felt like it was easy because there weren't specific parameters or values that I was living my life by. I was like, this doesn't feel good anymore. I don't like this. I'm just tired of this, and I'm just going to walk away from it. Well, there was a little bit more to it than that, but having gone through a second marriage and the end of that second marriage and being married to a person that has a personality disorder, is an alcoholic, deals with addiction, and having 3 children with that person, I can say, oh, well, and also during that time, cultivating my own religious and spiritual beliefs and my certainty in God and what that means in my life, I can say that the decision to leave that marriage was a lot heavier. It was a lot heavier. And it took a lot longer. It took a lot longer. I stayed in the relationship even when I knew that it wasn't healthy for me. In some part because I felt that's what I should do. But that's what I should do, especially as a mother. That's what I should do based on societal expectations. I grew up as a child of divorced parents. So not only that, but divorced parents that had a hard time resolving conflict or, engaging with each other in healthy ways. So what I saw demonstrated for me was definitely not what I wanted my own children to experience. And I did not want to repeat those patterns or those cycles in my own life. So I avoided the decision to end that marriage for as long as I possibly could, until it became physically unsafe for me to stay. And that's when it was very clear to me, this, I don't want my children to tolerate treatment like this from someone, so I can't either. I'm like, oh, did I answer your question? I feel like I'm
No, you did. But I mean, you can keep going if you like, but you definitely answered the question, because I think, like you said, when, we can study God's word, we can be in the church, we can do all these things, but do it out of context, right? And I truly do believe that if God said that he has a plan to prosper us, to give us a hope in the future, and that, that all these things that he wants the best for us, then why would we remain in something like that? Is this really God's best? How do I even know that this is who God sent for me to be in a relationship with? Now,
yes.
you mentioned something earlier too about we're spiritual beings, we possess a lot of energy as well. Do you think that maybe something that had happened to you, maybe in your childhood or something like that, that may have drawn you to those individuals?
100,000% yes.
Okay.
And really at the root of it, my biological father has never been an active part of my life. He and my mom had ended their relationship before I was born. I think he was present at my birth, and I maybe saw him a couple of times. Well, he saw me because I was an infant, right? He maybe saw me a few times, at most probably a handful of times in the first year of my life. My mom then conceived my first sibling, who was born a year and a half after me, and she married his father, who legally adopted me, and my biological father surrendered his parental rights. So that's the background, like the surface level stuff that I like through my lens. Someone else might have a different perspective of how it all played out. But what I experienced as I guess you could say, almost like side effects of those decisions and those circumstances were that I always felt like something was missing, and I didn't know until I was probably around the age of 10, like what I feel like is missing is my other parents, my biological father. And why I started asking questions. Why do I not know him? Why did he not want to be in my life? Why is he not here? I knew that he was married. I knew that he had other children. And I thought, if he has other children, why did he want them and not me? And that became my operating system in relationship to men. It was, I'm not good enough. You don't really want me, even when you tell me that you do. And I was seeking validation and love from anyone that would give it to me, even if that was in the form of breadcrumbs, because I was just trying to fill this hole that had been created by not knowing my biological father, and also believing that there was something at the root of it. This is really what I believe. There was something wrong with me. He chose to have these other children and not me. Like, there must be something wrong with me, which I know now is not true.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, how did you get to that understanding that, you know what, it's really nothing wrong with me, and actually holding those people accountable for their actions?
Whew. Oh my. I don't know that I've actually done that yet. I don't
Okay,
know
okay.
that I've held them accountable for their actions or for their decisions. So excuse me, that's something that I'm still kind of working on now, with a different, then I have a different perspective of how those decisions made by other people in the past affected me all the way up until 42 years of age. In fact, it was on my 42nd birthday that a friend of mine, in just a small virtual gathering online of our friends, she said something along the lines of, on your birthday, I just wish for you to see how wonderful and special you are, and how valuable you are. And she said something along the lines of like how I didn't let other people, my husband at the time specifically, I didn't let him in because I didn't value myself in that way, or I allowed him to to treat me in ways that were not okay, because I thought that that's what I had to accept. And she was like, this isn't true. And you're so much more valuable than that. And for the first time, well, really, that was the first time anyone had ever said it to me like that. But for the first time ever, I was like, oh, oh my goodness, I think you're right. And then I had this like rewiring of my brain happening, where I could see all the decisions I had made in the past that were with that belief underneath them, that I'm not valuable, I was discarded, I wasn't wanted. And so now I've got to try to fix that somehow.
Mm, beautiful revelations, right? How things just begin to unfold as we, um when God, because God places people in our lives, right? And then they're able to pull out those certain things. And I'm glad that you had that person in your life to be able to pull those things out of you and challenge your thinking. So what led you to becoming the chiropractor and then the hypnotherapist?
Yeah, so chiropractic for me was a very strategic choice, I thought, at least at the time. In undergraduate, had studied social work and business. And really, I started off majoring in business and almost finished my degree, did my internship, and realized this feels very soulless. And I don't think I want to just do this for the rest of my life. So I'm going to change my major and take a different career path. But I didn't really know what that meant. Like, what did I actually want to do? So I changed my major to psychology, and then human service agency management, which is like nonprofit management, and then social work. And I graduated with my degree in social work. So at that point, I enrolled in a master's degree in counseling. And the day that classes were to start, I went to the campus and I withdrew. And all I knew was that like I had signed up for this degree program simply because I felt like I had to go on to the next thing, the next accomplishment, but I wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't really feeling like certain and clear that that was the right next step. And so I withdrew and I let my mom know, and she was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel like this is the right next step. I'm not clear." Well, at that same time, I was working in retail management, which was what I had done my internship in. So I continued working full time in retail, and God just kept bringing me people. I'm not even kidding. Like, I was working in a store inside of a mall, and people would come into the store. One time, I remember someone coming in with their white coat on that the interns were required to wear at the chiropractic college that was just 10 or 15 minutes away. And I was like, why is this person walking around with a doctor's coat on in this lotion store? What is up? And so then she comes up to me and she gives me her business card. I saw this happen actually quite a few times while I worked in the store. There were at least two people that I had gone to high school with, one person that I had been friends with in undergrad, who also came into the store, and I like, "Oh, hi, how are you? How are things going?" And what I would hear from them was that they were either in chiropractic school or they were going, they had finished chiropractic school. So I just kept I just kept hearing this from people, right? They just kept popping up. And I was like, I think I'm supposed to look into this chiropractic thing. And I did. That was 2003. I researched it on the internet. It seemed to make sense to me. And I thought, well, this is a way that I can combine my social work degree and my business degree. And that makes sense. So I can own my own business and I can help people. I'm going to go to chiropractic school. I think my family thought I was a little crazy. But I made the commitment. It's a very big financial commitment. It's a long experience. It's a long haul to go through chiropractic school. It's very intense. So it was a very big decision. I don't think I made it lightly, but I know I didn't know fully what I was actually in for.
That's so funny. It's funny because when I started, my undergraduate program, I started off with, psychology. Well, first it was like human services, and then it was psychology. And then when I learned that, oh, you have to take research and statistics for psychology, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to change my major. So I changed it to social work, realizing that I still had to take research and statistics. And then when I had the friend who was a chiropractor, and she encouraged me to go into chiropractic care, and I'm like, oh, she's like, you'll be, a Black woman that's a chiropractor. Like, just think about that. I was like, I don't really know, but it it almost like it makes a lot of sense because you said the other what you're majoring in before wasn't like what business, it was kind of like soulless for you, and then you get into social work, which it's very broad as to who you're going to be providing services for within the oppressed populations and different things as such. And then you go into chiropractic care, which is more so like a holistic approach to healing and things as such, and reducing pain, the dis-ease. And then you go into hypnotherapy. So how was that bridging over to hypnotherapy, or what made you think like, I think this is what I want to do, or did you have a hypnotherapy session yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, I had experienced as a client, if you will, a lot of work with a practitioner who has very similar credentials to mine. And that doing that work with her as a client has just made me a completely different person, a much more healed and whole person, a better mom, a better business owner, a better facilitator, all of the things. So actually through years of work with her as a client, I never considered earning the same credentials, taking the same certifications. That wasn't a part of my intention. But really, hypnotherapy for me was it just kind of, again, like God was just like, here, it's this, like, go this way. Because like I said, I was looking for a way to help my clients that I had been business coaching with for years break through the places that they were stuck and really be able to experience more and better lives.
That's beautiful. I actually have a business coach, or well, she's not like a business coach, but she's a coach. I think she can definitely help individuals with, whatever it is that they're trying to pursue within their coaching business themselves. But she's really great. Her name is Megan, and she's with It's Your Story to Tell. And I think that you all, both of you, should just meet. You, and also thinking about your story with the marriage, your testimony coming out of those marriages, it makes me also think about Dallas Cohen. She's called the Rebound Coach, and I
Mm.
think that'd be awesome. So we're going to take a brief segue, and I want you to like talk about, how do you, I want to say, how do you provide these services, or like if someone wanted to receive these services from you, how do they contact you?
Most of my clients find me through Facebook. In
Okay.
fact, I would say over 90%. They've
Okay.
been they've been either friends with me on Facebook or they've been following me on Facebook. And at some point they just reach out. Of course I have an email list. I have a podcast as well that I started in 2018. No,
Okay.
sorry, 2015. So I became well known because of my podcast. And it was the first podcast that was, at the time at least, specifically for female chiropractors.
Mhm.
So because it was the first and it was the only at that time, word spread. So word of mouth was huge. And through the podcast, people joined my email list. And through those three things, really, well, I guess I would add to that referrals, word of mouth, people spreading the word and sending their friends. I grew a multiple six-figure business in about 3 years.
That is awesome. Now, what is the name of your podcast?
The podcast that I started in 2015 still exists, although I have retired it. The name of it is the Health and Wellness Practitioners Podcast. And in fact, you can find it at that domain, the Health and Wellness Practitioners Podcast.com. There are over 250 episodes. There's a lot of content there. It's great for anyone that wants to work with clients in a service-based industry, but specifically chiropractors, of course, massage therapists, acupuncturists, coaches. And there's a lot of material there for people that want to have an online business as well.
Great information. Great information. So Danielle Angela on Facebook. And then again, the website is for the podcast.
The Health and Wellness Practitioners Podcast.com.
The Health and Wellness Practitioner Podcast.com.
You got it.
That is lovely. Now let's go back a little bit. You mentioned, was it age? What age were you again when you found out that your dad had another family? Was it 10?
I believe it was around 10. Yes.
About 10, about 10. So knowing the things that you know today and doing the work that you've done to almost like rediscover, you're in your healing journey. What would you say to that 10-year-old Danielle today?
My goodness. Wow, what a question. I would just want her to know that none of that was her fault. None of it was because there was something wrong with her. And that she was loved, that she was valuable, that she was good enough exactly as she was.
Beautiful. And then what would you say to the Danielle who was getting out of that first marriage or contemplating on getting out of that first
To trust myself because I knew for a long time that there were things that were happening that were not okay. Um, even just, the frequency in which my first husband was dishonest. Um, as I mentioned, he was an alcoholic. Um, all of those things at the time to me were just like, this is just normal stuff, right? Like, this is just what everybody does. And now I have different standards and different boundaries, different expectations. And I'm sober myself. I don't drink. I've not experienced alcoholism personally, but because I have three children, I made the decision many years ago to give my children a sober parent. So I just don't drink alcohol. And that for me is it's actually people are surprised when I tell them or when they offer me alcohol and I say no, I don't drink alcohol. No, thank you. They're like, you don't drink alcohol? I'm like, no, and I'm good. Like I'm actually way better off without it. Thank you. But that's the kind of people that I allow in my life now are generally people that also don't drink alcohol. Whereas, 20 years ago, me was out with friends that were drinking all the time, multiple nights a week before I had children, of course. So yeah, just trusting myself, trusting that even though I wasn't able to articulate or put into words that what I was experiencing wasn't okay or that it wasn't healthy, that it wasn't really what I wanted for my life. It wasn't centered around values that I wanted to have my life centered around. It was it was okay to not be able to articulate those things at that time and to still make decisions, to still do something that um, seemed to be just for me.
very happy for you. I'm very proud of the decisions that you made for your not just for yourself but for your children. How do you or how would you encourage a mother who has come out of not so great relationship who would need to try to co-parent? Like what type of encouragement would you give that woman who is like, it's really hard. I have three children, you know.
Lots of prayer, um, lots of receiving support, and that support might even just mean asking other people to pray for you. That's one of the hardest things for me to do still is to just reach out to someone and say, we are going through it. Like, can you just please keep us in your thoughts and prayers? Um, Support is, I think, a very interesting thing because I suppose in the ideal sense, we would only need God and God would be enough, right? But yet we are human. And I believe that we're also here as humans together because we are meant to be in community with each other. Otherwise, wouldn't God have sent us here alone? I don't know. So it's an interesting dynamic for me. I've found that yes, I need to allow myself to receive support from other people, but the most important thing has been cultivating my resiliency and my ability to be okay on my own, which isn't about being independent, not needing anybody. It's just really being my own source of safety and knowing that I can connect to that source of safety anytime that I need or want to. That I'm never alone. God's always with me.
Yes, 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 yes. I was trying to find a scripture that reads, "How can two walk together unless they agree?" You know, like, and the good friend Dallas, she mentioned before that God has made us interdependent on each other. And like you said, like if we didn't need anybody else, just be one person. And then even thinking about, with Jesus and how, God had people around him, to help him. And he was, I believe the Father and the Son, it's just amazing. It's amazing how much God loves us that he'll give us community. And then the moment that we are able to be vulnerable, that's when we're able to receive the help and different things that we need. And sometimes it really is hard to ask for help. But I really appreciate your story, your journey, your vulnerability, even on the show today. Do you have is there anything else you would like to share with the listeners?
Um, we can get through any hard thing. Even on the most impossible days, even at the times that I thought, I cannot believe this is my reality right now. Like, this cannot be real. I've always come through, always. And and I don't do that alone ever. But no matter what it is that we're going through, no matter what the trial is, no matter what the mistakes are that you've made, there's always the possibility for forgiveness. There's always hope.
There's always hope. There's always hope. As long as we're still here, God still has us here for a reason, so just thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your words. Thank you for your words. So that's Danielle Angela. People can find you on Facebook. Although you have retired your podcast, people can still go back and listen to it because there's over 250 episodes that
Yep.
they can definitely receive support and information from. But yeah, I just thank you again
Thank you
for
so much.
you're welcome. You're welcome. You have a wonderful day. And but I'll talk to you after this really quickly. Thank you all for tuning into Suppressed Wounds, Redemption and Recovery, when suppressed wounds begin to heal. We had a wonderful, wonderful guest today, Dr. Danielle Angela. Please reach out to her, especially if you have any additional questions or if you would like to interview her. Also, if you would like to get some hypnotherapy done, to try to help you overcome, or how did you say it about the subconscious, to live out of your subconscious, or
I'm not sure what I said before, but what I might say now is so that we can essentially heal our subconscious wounds, the things that we're carrying with us that are no longer serving us. That it's time for them to go, but we don't know how to do that on our own.
mm, and that's all we have people here like Dr. Danielle Angela who can help us. So again, this has been another episode. Tune in, definitely follow, like, subscribe, support, whatever it is. And definitely understand that we can heal together. Thank you everyone for tuning in.